Alright guys, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find sellers that will beg you to buy their house. But you can't tell anyone because it's a secret. Shh.
Okay.
What's up guys, welcome back. In this video, this might be a series by the way because it's going to be long. We're going to talk about how to find deals. Okay, this is the most important part of real estate investing. Okay, as I've said a million times, there's 100% of real estate transactions, right? If you look at the whole pie, let's say there's 6 million homes sold in a year throughout the United States. And I don't know how accurate that number is. I'm just throwing out a large number. Okay, as a real estate investor, you're not looking for any of those. You're looking for like 5% of the 6 million, which means there's plenty of deals, right? Because 5% of 6 million is a lot, like 300,000. But at the same time, it's not enough to where you can market to everybody and expect to get a good ROI. So how do we go about that? We have to qualify first, okay? And that's what we're going to be doing today. Is I'm going to be teaching you guys how to find motivated sellers. Now, what is a motivated seller? It's kind of self-explanatory. It's someone that is motivated to sell for a lower price. So it doesn't mean like your mom that wants to sell her house. It means like, you know, someone died, they have it in probate. That's a big one. Foreclosures, marital issues. The 3 Ds of real estate, and if any of these are usually a good deal on our end in terms of we can make money, is death, divorce, and debt. Okay, death, divorce, and debt. If there's those 3 or any one of those 3 is involved in the house in any way, it usually means that it could be a good real estate investment deal. Now that sounds very morbid and very depressing, but as a real estate investor, whether you're a wholesaler, a fix and flipper, whatever you do, you're a problem solver. That's what you are as an entrepreneur and as a real estate investor. So you're trying to help them. So yes, they may be in a bad situation, but your job is to fix that and help them. And in return, you get to be paid for it. That's the whole point. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. What we're going to be using today is Property Radar. This is what I use now pretty much for everything. Holy moly, people. I've got a bunch of notifications coming in. That's what I use for everything, okay? In terms of property research, comps, which is in another video in my course, sometimes analyzing, but usually I do my own calculations through my own spreadsheet, and then for marketing, for finding motivated sellers. So I'm going to run through how to do that really quick here. First of all, let's get this like out of the way. Let's get it down here. And so this is pretty much it. It does cost like, I think it's like 40 to 50 bucks a month. So it's not too expensive, and it's a really nice system. The only other program I've used online is something called Agent Pro 24/7, and it does pretty much the same thing, but Property Radar is just much more updated in terms of how it looks. I think they're both equally as accurate. I don't think one's more accurate than the other one. So either way you want to go, Agent Pro might be a little bit more cost effective in terms of how expensive it is, but when it's 40 bucks a month, it doesn't make that big of a difference to me. So anyway, what are we going to do here? So we're going to look for, in this example, we're going to look for foreclosures and people that are not in foreclosure, because if they're in foreclosure, it's hard to wholesale because they're either at the auction, which you have to pay for in cash. And so unless you got like $1 million in cash, you can't really buy a house, or they're short selling it with the bank and it just becomes a hassle. So we want to find people that are in pre-foreclosure. Okay, so how do we go about that? Well, first thing you need to understand is the laws. Okay, now every state is different in how foreclosures work. Here in California, there's a few stages to it. And what we're looking for is the notice of default, which is the first major stage. So what is a notice of default? It is essentially, like, to really simplify it, it's almost like a letter that they get that says, hey, look, you've missed a couple payments, you're behind X amount of dollars, and you're not in trouble yet. I mean, you are, but you're behind, but we're not going to auction yet. We still have a few months. I believe it's 3 months in California. Don't quote me on that, but it is a few months. And some states are different. Some states it's like 20 days. I don't know every state. I know California. That's what I've done. So I can usually tell if it's gonna be close to auctioning, or if it's a new pre-foreclosure. And I'll show you guys. It's really easy to do that in here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to, let's see, foreclosure search. Let it load. And in here, we want to go to search options. Okay, so here's where we're going to make all of our decisions on criteria, on what type of properties we're looking for. Like what we can get as specific as we want to. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, again, we're looking for pre-foreclosure. So you can see notice of default, we want those. So uncheck everything else because we don't want those. Okay, notice document. So this is important to us. How long ago was the notice of default filed? Okay, if it was filed like 6 months ago, they're going to be an auction pretty soon. And really, they could be an auction anytime as soon as the bank says, okay, we are now going to send you to auction. You have 21 days before the auction date. So I'm not going to go too far. We're going to set a date range, and we're going to do from, let's see, today's June. We'll go to March. We'll do March 6th. March 6th, that was a Monday, to today. And so that's going to be our date range. So any notice of defaults that were set, what the heck just happened? That were set, got to move myself out of the way here. That were set between these dates or filed between these dates is going to come up in our search. Okay. In fact, you know what? Let me move myself out the way a little bit here. We'll go up here. So that's good, okay? Because again, we don't want anything too old for notice of defaults because they could file for auction, and really in March they could, the bank could as well. But whatever, I'll take the risk, and obviously we're going to be working with the homeowner, so you know we'll see what their thoughts are on that. But anyway, trustee sale, none of this matters because we have that unchecked, so that's not important. Foreclosing loan, none of that really matters either because again, we're doing notice of defaults. And so if we get to the homeowner early enough and we can buy it directly from them, the foreclosing loan is not really going to matter because we're either going to pay it off and work with the bank, or, I mean, either way, we're going to have to cut some deal with the bank in terms of either paying them off or they're going to have to just, usually if you pay back what you're owed in notice of default or what you're behind on, then they'll let you, pretty much ride free and continue paying your normal payments. So keep that in mind. That's not really that important for what we want to do. Default details. This is somewhat important depending on your strategy. For us, being a wholesaler, it's not super important. I would say, I mean, it's difficult to put a number on it just because everyone's in a different location. And around here, the payments are much higher than there are in most parts of the country. And so if I were to say, okay, maximum default amount would be $100,000, in reality, in Indiana or Kentucky, it would be like $17,000, you know what I mean? Something way lower. So I'm not even going to put a number on that. And that's not super important that we do that anyway. So that's not that important. Let's move on to the next one, location. Okay, location's important. And this really comes down to your marketing strategy. So if you are going to do door knocking, don't set it for like a different state because that makes no goddamn sense, right? If you're going to do direct mail, then you can set it for really anywhere. The thing about direct mail that I would keep in mind is that people are different in different areas. And what I mean by that is like you can come up with a template that works great for like rural, farmers that are in foreclosure, right? But then you take that to like urban area and it does not work at all because there's just different demographics, different types of people, and they don't respond to the same marketing. So keep that in mind. But in this case, we're going to say that we're door knocking. So I'm going to do in Orange County, which is where I'm currently located. Where's Orange County? Boom. And that's going to be it. We're going to do Orange County, and we're going to do all of Orange County. So, yeah, you can get as specific with this as you want. The cool thing about Property Radar, and this is not how you would do this, but you can actually search for a specific house or specific address and see all of that property's details, which I'll show you guys in the comps video and stuff later on. But anyway, so we're going to keep it pretty broad. Orange County, state, obviously, California. And now we have to put Orange County again. That's ridiculous. Come on, Property Radar. There we go. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. We're going to keep it pretty broad just because I don't want to get too specific. Okay. Property details. All right. So we're going to say in this specific case, we're only going to do single family homes. So commercial, industrial, agricultural, not a lot of agricultural land in Orange County anyway, but all this we'll uncheck. That's residential. Apartment buildings are not residential. Multifamily, no, technically it's residential, but I want to do single family and condos and then other residential and see what comes up. Characteristics. This is good and bad. So let me move this out of the way so I can show you guys all this. This is like, how can I explain this? If you're looking, like if your strategy is you are a buy and hold and you only buy and hold properties with, 2 units or 4 and up units, and you could put 4 units here and max have nothing, so that it would go up from there. Obviously, you would check that in multifamily and apartments. You wouldn't check in single family in that case. But same thing with like if you are a flipper that specializes in 3 2s, then you'd put 3 and 3 and 2 and 2, not 33. Jesus, that's a lot of bedrooms. But you would set your criteria to your expertise. Now, for me as a wholesaler, we're not really specializing in a type of property other than single family. And that's kind of a broad thing. Single family means a lot of different types of houses, condos, townhomes, a bunch of different stuff, all different sizes, from mansions to tiny little shacks. So we don't really care about that much. What we might care about over here is this stuff. So ownership. This is where you can really get really specific. It asks if you want a phone number. I usually click any because there's not a lot of foreclosures and not a lot of properties that have phone numbers logged in that I think are accurate. So keep that in mind, but you can click that yes if you want to. Primary residence. Okay, primary residence and owner occupied. So these are almost the same question. They're slightly different. So primary residence is almost like a tax and legal term, and it basically means that it's their primary home on paper. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they live there, but it does mean that they legally say they do, okay? Owner occupied is, do they actually live there? Yes or no. So if it's owner occupied, yes, they live there. If not, no, they do not. So let's click no, because that'll bring down our criteria a lot. Having no, we might not even get any results. But the reason why this is such a good thing to search is because imagine this. You are a real estate investor. You're going through financial troubles. You own, 5 properties. Obviously, you live in one. The other 4 you rent out. And you can't afford the payments. So number one is you're much more likely to let go of the one that you don't live in, because you're not living there. So it's, there's less of an emotional connection. It's just like, hey, that's my investment and it's not going well. I want to get rid of it. So that's why we're doing that. And the second reason really is a lot of times these owners will be out of state. And if they're not out of state, they'll be far away. And if they're far away, it's a lot easier to work with them. Not necessarily to communicate with them. That's a little difficult. But it is easier to, once you do get in contact with them, to talk to them and say, look, John, I see that your property here is not doing very well. I'm a real estate investor. I'm in the area. Would you want to work with me? And because you're in the area, because you're, an expert, they are going to be a lot more willing to work with you, okay? Versus if it's some other guy from Texas and he lives in Nebraska and they're talking about a house in California, it's kind of a different conversation. But anyway, so keep that in mind. That's going to be my criteria for that. Let's go to value and equity. Okay, as a wholesaler, this is extremely important. So if you guys have not paid attention to anything I've said, which hopefully you have, but if you have not, you have to pay attention to this. I'm serious, okay? As a wholesaler, we care about equity. Equity is huge. There has to be enough meat on the bone for all of us to make money. And by all of us, I mean the seller either needs to make a little bit of money or walk away happily, which is difficult if they're not making any money. And by make, I don't necessarily mean like they're making a bunch of money on their investment, because again, these people are getting foreclosed on. But I do mean that they're going to come away with some money in their pocket, like 10, 20, 50,000 for selling it, okay? Obviously, we need to make money for our time and efforts, right? And then the person we're selling it to, the fix and flipper, needs to make money for fix and flipping it, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense for them. So estimated equity minimum, I'm going to put that there has to be at least 40% equity, okay? Now, why 40%? Well, first of all, is the average home price in Orange County is like $800,000, $900,000. So you figure 40% of that is like $300,000 to $350,000, which is plenty of room for me to make money and the fix and flipper to make money, and even potentially the seller to make money. Okay, now if you live in an area that is, average home price is $100,000, you might want to go more than that. You might want to go more. Another thing to keep in mind is that in my demographic, in my area, not a lot of people have a lot of equity. So this is going to break down our criteria a lot. We might not get in any search options or get any potential leads off of this. We might have to change our criteria, which we'll go through in a minute if this doesn't work out. But anyway, that's really the most important part. There has to be enough meat on the bone, because you might find a deal and it's upside down because it's a foreclosure. And what can you do with that? Nothing. So I shouldn't say you can't do anything. You can, but it's much more difficult to wholesale that because there's no equity, and you have to find a very advanced real estate investor to buy that, because that would be like a subject to deal or some type of purchase option, not a normal fix and flipper by any means. So keep that in mind. Cap rate, we don't give a shit about that. Property taxes, we don't care. Rental value, we may care about this, but right now we don't. Property value, honestly, we don't care about that either. As long as there's enough equity and you know your area, then that's fine too. Let's go to more. More. Okay, listed for sale. Honestly, no, we don't want anything that's listed for sale because that means we're going to have to work with a real estate agent, which is not horrible. We could do that, but real estate agents sometimes get in the way of wholesaling deals, and so keep that in mind. Okay. For rent listing, no, we do not want any for rent listings either. Okay, we don't want it to be listed. We want it to be off the market. Okay. Most recent change of ownership, we don't care about that at all. Loans, honestly, we don't really care about that at all. For wholesaling, so go to the next one. My data. Okay. This is just for your saved on Property Radar. You can save lists and title them certain things, which we'll do in a little bit. But right now, it's not super important. And that's pretty much it. And then summary, we're going to see what we've come up with here. Listed for rent, no, no, no. Yep. Okay, cool. So all this is our different search terms that we've chosen. Okay. So let's go ahead and search and see if anything comes up, because it might not be anything because we've searched too much. And it looks like I was wrong. We've come up with 36 potential properties. So these are all properties that are considered single-family homes, or not single-family homes, but single-family homes, condos, other residential properties, anything that's considered residential that's not 2 to 4 units. So any single-unit property. Okay. And these are all in Orange County, so they're all within driving distance of me, and we've come up with 36 of them. So I'm sure by the time you guys find this, none of this is going to be accurate anymore, so keep that in mind. But we'll go through and we'll click on a few of these, some that seem interesting. So let's start with equity. Let's see who has got the top equity here. Okay, we've got 15 Morning Doe. Let's click on this. So you can click on these, you can get the full property profile, which is what we're going to do now. Boom. Okay, so we can see the owner here. And again, keep in mind, this is not the same address as this. 15 Morning Dove is not the same address as this. And this is where the owner lives. So why is that? Again, this is a non-owner occupied house, which means this is potentially an investment property or a vacation home or something like that. Now, it looks like he bought this here for $888,000 in 2015. Now, that's interesting to know because in 2015, that was not that long ago, right? I mean, that's what? That was about 2 years ago now, just under 2 years. So if we look at that property, we see it was built in 1978, and we were to take this right here, this address, and look it up, which we'll do real quick just to show. 15 Morning Dove, Irvine, and see what comes up. 15 Morning Dove. Let's see if they have pictures. It's off the market, so hopefully they do. But oh wow, look at that. See, it's off the market though. But sold 6/23/15. So this was pictures from back then. But we can see it's definitely a nice house. Now Redfin's estimating at 966. Let's see what, just for the hell of it, what these guys estimated at. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Come on now, people. I always forget where this number is. Estimated value, $874,000. Okay, so they're $100,000 off from Redfin. So that's why you really have to run your own comp. So if we were going to do that real quick, you'd come down here and you'd click this and you'd run comps. But we're not going to do that right now because we're just looking at making a list. So this is another potential property. So we're looking for properties like this, right? That have owners that are not in that property living there, that are in foreclosure. Which this confuses me because if they're in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, but they own 100% of the equity, how does that make any sense, right? Well, it could be some sort of construction lien, or something along, or like a homeowners association, something like that. So let's see if it comes up down here. Borrower, nothing. Oh, that's weird. Oh, association lien, boom. So association lien as of 12/22/2016. That's interesting. So notice of default right here, boom, from SBS Lien Services for only for like $3,000. That's a little ridiculous. So I don't know why they haven't paid this off, but again, this could be a potential deal right here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if it is 100% equity, it's not going to be a normal foreclosure. Like the bank's usually not going to be foreclosing on it if the homeowner owns the property outright. It's going to be a construction lien. It's going to be a homeowners association, something along those lines. So more of a specific niche. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know. In that particular one, the notice of default looks so small, and that guy bought the house in cash. So see, estimated bid, look at $3,000. So that's ridiculous. But look at this guy, $2 million. Oof. Oh, this is a nice beach property here in Huntington. Let's check this one out. Okay, so you see this guy lives in Van Nuys, and it's some sort of corporation, so that's interesting to know. Seems like the purchase price and down payment's not correct, so that's a little weird. But estimated value, bought it for $2 million, bought it in cash, and what's the lien going on here? Cash out, short sale. Okay, so this is weird. Notice of default, 4/21/17. That's weird. MBS, default services. This is really, really weird. So I don't know exactly what's going on here, even from my perspective. Oh my gosh, holy moly, people. Eric and Deborah. So what I think happened was these people own the property, but it's weird because it says that these guys bought it, or it transferred to these guys in 2017. So I'm thinking that this is another real estate investor that bought the property from these guys. What could be happening here, which don't ever do this, just I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but don't ever do this. If you ever do a subject to deal and you agree to pay their payments and take over the property, which looks like what's happening here, that's horrible, because what could be happening here, and I don't want to say this is happening, is that this company that now has the grant deed, which means they own the property, they own the rights to the property, but these people, the original homeowners, were still have their name on the loans. And so these subject to deals, when the real estate investor or company comes in and agrees to pay the loan, but they get possession of the property. That's how it transfers. So what happens sometimes is real estate investors will just not pay the loan down, which is horrible. Don't ever do that. I don't know if that's happening here, but that's possible. So that's another interesting deal. But anyway, I'm not going to go through any more of these. I just want to show you guys we got 36. So what do we do now? Boom. We want to check all these. We want to come up here. I believe this is the right one. Yep. Email and print. We'll print it. List view. Include a map. And so you can come down here, and if you want to get mailing labels, you can have them automatically printed out. But we don't need any of that crap. Honestly, we just want a list view. We can put the map in, but we don't need that either. So print. And I don't have it connected to a printer, so we're just going to have it as a PDF. So this is our list, and now we can go out and we can go door knocking. We can get this as a spreadsheet and put it into a click to mail or something like that, some online mailing service, and direct mail these people. But all of these are potentially deals, right? They all meet our equity criteria. They're all foreclosing on, and they're all owner occupied. So this list is like gold, okay? And obviously it's only 36, but it's much more cost effective. Trust me, I know, because I've done it the other way. To send out 36 postcards and get one deal, then send out 20,000 postcards and get one deal, because you didn't do this, because you just sent it out to everyone in the neighborhood. That's not what we want to do. Again, we're looking for the tiny little piece of the pie that fits our criteria. We don't need everything else, okay? Not everyone's going to be our client. That's fine. But with that in mind, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that makes sense. To summarize, you're basically going to go on Property Radar or Agent Pro. You're going to put in your criteria, do a foreclosure search, and then put in your criteria. Most important is equity, but location is important if you want to do door knocking. Excuse me. If you want to do direct mail, it's not as important, but door knocking is important because you don't want to drive to a different state or somewhere ridiculous, right? And then from there, get your list and export it. And there you go. You've got your door knocking list. You've got your mailing list, whatever you want to do. And with all the information, you can do some property research on these as well. And there you go. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section down below. Like this video. And yeah, catch you guys around. Peace.